Jai Swaminarayan. Today let's read Panchālā 4 of the Vachanāmrut. This passage is titled Perceiving Divinity in the Human Traits of God. Let's dive right into it. On Phalgun Vadhi III, Samvat 1877, or the 21st of March 1821, Sriji Maharaj was sitting on a large decorated cot that had been placed on a platform in Jina Bhai's Darbar in Panchālā. He was wearing a white case, and had covered himself with a thin white blanket. He had also tied a white phaeto around his head. In addition to this, he was turning a rosary made of tulsi beads in his hand. At that time, an assembly of Paramhansas as well as an assembly of devotees from various places was gathered before him. Then Sriji Maharaj said to the Paramhansas, "Please begin a question-answer session amongst yourselves." Thereupon, Muni Bawa asked a question to Brahmanand Swami. Initially, one may have the conviction of God and may engage in worship and remembrance, but later, on seeing the human-like actions of God, doubts arise in that conviction. What is the cause of this? Brahmanand Swami then began to answer that question, but was unable to do so satisfactorily. Then, having thought for some time, Sriji Maharaj spoke, "I shall answer that question." Continuing, he said, "The Vedas, the Purans, the Mahabharata, the Smritis, and the other scriptures proclaim that the original form of God, which is eternal, without a beginning and divine, resides in his Akshardham. They also mention what that God is like. His form is not like any form that can be seen by the eyes. His sound is not like any sound that can be heard by the ears. His touch is not like any touch that can be felt by the skin. His smell is not like any smell that can be smelt by the nose. The tongue cannot describe that God. He cannot be perceived by the man. The mind cannot be contemplated upon by the chit, the consciousness. He cannot be comprehended by the buddhi, the intellect, nor can the ahankar, the ego, fully claim, I am God's and God is mine. In this manner, God remains beyond the reach of the indriyas, the outer organs, and the andhakaran, the inner organs. Moreover, the beauty of that God is such that it cannot be compared to any other object in this Brahmand, this universe, including everything from Brahma, the creator, to the smallest blade of grass. His sound is such that it cannot be compared to any other sounds in this Brahmand. The smell of God is such that it cannot be compared to any other smell in this Brahmand. The touch of God is such that it cannot be compared to any other touch in this Brahmand. The tastes related to God are such that they cannot be compared to any other taste in this Brahmand. The abode of God is such that it cannot be compared to any other place in this Brahmand. Specifically, out of all the various places in the 7 dweeps and the 9 khans, the extremely beautiful places of Brahma and others on Meru, the various places on Mount Lokalok, the realms of Indra, Varun, Kuber, Shiv, and Brahma, and many other places, no, not one can compare to the abode of God. And the bliss experienced by the devotees of God residing in that abode is such that it cannot be compared to any other type of bliss in this Brahmand. The form of God, the form of that God, is such that it cannot be compared to the form of anyone in this Brahmand. Why? Because all of the forms in this Brahmand, which evolved from Prakriti Parush, the first division between primordial matter and consciousness, are mayak, of material nature, whereas God is divine. So since the two are totally different, how can they possibly be compared? For example, we can compare a person to something by saying this person is like a buffalo, like a snake, like a sparrow, like a donkey, like a dog, like a crow, or like an elephant. But in reality, such comparisons are not appropriate for humans. Why? Because all of those animals are of a totally different category than humans, even between a human and a human. There is no exact similarity whereby one can claim this person is exactly like that person. If they were exactly like the other person, then how could the original person be recognized? Therefore, despite the fact that all human beings belong to the same category, no two are exactly alike. Just look at Bhago and Mulo. The two are said to be identical, but if one stays with them for a few days, one can distinguish between them and say, this is Bhago and this is Mulo. But if there were no difference, how could they be recognized? So, if there is no great similarity between a person and another person, how can there be similarity between that which is mayak, material, and that which is not mayak, i.e. divine? What can possibly be compared to God and the abode of God? After all scriptures claim God is beyond the reach of the Indriyas and the Antahkaran, the senses and the inner senses of cognition. When that God does not wish to give his darshan, his beholding presence to beings, he stays in that manner in his own Akshardham with a divine form, thus remaining beyond reach. That God is the Lord of all lords. He is surrounded by countless divine luxuries and countless divine attendants, and he is the Lord of countless millions of Brahmans, universes. For example, suppose there is a great world emperor whose kingdom stretches from where the sun rises to where it sets. Also suppose that that emperor, by the strength of their own austerities, has attained divine powers like those of the Devas, the deities, and is ruling over the realms of Swarg, heaven, Mrityolok, earth, and Patal, which is hell. The higher realms, the lower realms, and the intermediate realms, like where we are on earth. Just like Arjun, who remained on the throne of Indra in Svarglok for many years with his own body, and King Nahush, who also became Indra. So powerful is this world emperor that it is not possible to count the villages in his kingdom, as they are innumerable. The chiefs of these villages also cannot be counted, as they too are innumerable. Furthermore, the countless chiefs of those villages come to his darbar to make requests. The emperor's money, property, pleasures, palaces, and wealth are also countless. Similarly, God is the king of the kings of countless villages in the form of Brahmans, universes. Moreover, the chiefs of those villages in the form of Brahmans are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiv, the creator, maintainer, and destroyer. Just as in one village, one chief is senior, and the whole population of that village bows before him and follows his command, and just as the chief in turn bows before the king, similarly in each Brahmand, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiv are senior, and the others in that Brahmand, that is the Devas, the demons, the humans, Rishis, and Prajapatis of that Brahmand, worship them and follow their command. But Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiv turn to worship Purushottam Bhagwan and follow his command. Furthermore, all of the Brahmas, Vishnus, and Maheshas of all the Brahmans pray to God, Maharaj, please have compassion on us and visit our Brahmand, our universe, just as the chief of a village requests the world emperor, Maharaj, I am poor, please visit my house. I shall serve you to the best of my ability. In the same way, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiv pray to that God, Maharaj, please have mercy upon us and grace us with your darshan. Do visit our Brahmand. Only then does God assume a body in that Brahmand. Moreover, he assumes a body based on the task to be performed there, and he also behaves accordingly. If he assumes the body of a deva, of a deity, then he behaves exactly like a deva. If he assumes the body of an animal, then he behaves exactly like an animal. For example, when God assumed the form of Varaha, he found the earth by smelling it. When he became Hayagriv, he started to neigh like a horse. When he assumed the bodies of water creatures such as Matsya and Katsha, he moved only in water, but not on land. When he became the form of Nursing, he behaved exactly like a lion, not like a human. When that God assumes the form of a human being, he behaves exactly like a human. During Satya Yuga, the highest age of truth, the lifespan of humans is 100,000 years, and thus God also lives for 100,000 years. Moreover, just as the people in Satya Yuga can indulge in any object their mind desires, God also indulges in objects in the same manner, but he does not behave in any extraordinary way. Also, as the lifespan of humans in Treta Yuga, the third and second lowest yuga, is 10,000 years. When God is born in Treta Yuga, he also lives for that many years. The lifespan in Dwapara Yuga, the second yuga, is 1,000 years, and humans possess the strength of 10,000 elephants. Thus, God also possesses the same strength and has the same lifespan. And when God is born in Kali Yuga, the lowest, he assumes the lifespan and strength of humans according to the norms of Kali Yuga. Moreover, just as a child is conceived, then develops in the womb, then is born, then undergoes the phases of childhood, youth, and old age, and eventually dies, God also undergoes the same process, exactly like a human. Furthermore, just as humans possess swabhavs, deep-seated impressions such as lust, anger, avarice, cravings for taste, egotism, affection, arrogance, matsar, jealousy, enmity, attachment, infatuation, happiness, misery, fear, fearlessness, bravery, cowardice, hunger, thirst, desires, cravings, sleep, prejudice, a feeling that this belongs to others, a feeling like this belongs to me, renunciation, detachment, etc. In the same way, all of those swabhavs are apparent in God as well when he assumes a human body. All of the scriptures have also described that human form of God along with his original divine form. One who has developed a firm conviction of both of those forms through intense shravan and manan, through listening and intellectualizing, never harbors doubts in any way, whereas one who lacks this type of understanding does harbor doubts in God. When that God, who possesses a divine form, assumes a human body, they behave with swabhavs similar to humans. He behaves similar to humans. However, one who is intelligent realizes he possesses lust, but it is not like that of other humans. In fact, anger, avarice, cravings for taste, egotism, and other human swabhavs are also present in God, but they certainly are not like those possessed by other humans. An intelligent person realizes that there is something divine about that God, and with this understanding, they develop the conviction of him being God. For example, Shankaracharya entered the body of a king in order to gain knowledge of a certain amorous detail. Thus, at that time, his bodily gestures and his emotions were all amorous like those of the king. The queen, however, was intelligent and realized, my husband did not possess such powers, therefore some other jiva, soul, has entered his body. In the same manner, divinity is apparent in God in human form. As a result, one develops the conviction of him being God. Then you may say, if someone develops the conviction of God on noticing something divine, then if he were to display much divinity, many people would develop such conviction. But the fact of the matter is as follows. All of the scriptures refer to the sun by saying, "It is God." Moreover, that sun is visible to everyone, and people do its darshan daily. Despite this, no person has ever been convinced of his or her own liberation as a result of its darshan, i.e., they do not believe, "I have attained liberation." On the other hand, after having the darshan of Ram, Krishna, and the other avatars in human form, and of Narad, Shuk, and other sadhus, people do attain the conviction that my liberation is certainly guaranteed and I am fulfilled, even though there is no divine light in that God and those sadhus. In fact, only after lighting an oil lamp can one have their darshan. Still, one becomes convinced of one's own liberation. Consider another example. Fire is also a visible form of God. As God has said in the 14th verse of the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Braninam Deham Ashritaha Pranapana Samayuktaha Pacham Yanam Chadurvidham, which means abiding in the bodies of all beings as Vaishvanar, the fire of digestion. I digest the 4 types of food, i.e. the chewable, drinkable, lickable, and suckable, with the help of Pranvayu, i.e. inhaled air, and Apanvayu, i.e. air that pushes food downwards. The darshan of that fire is available to all, but that does not grant people conviction of their own liberation, whereas with the darshan of God and his sadhu, his monk, his spiritual seeker, they do gain conviction of their own liberation. The reason for this is that there is a disparity between humans and the sun and fire. As a result, one is not convinced of one's liberation upon having the darshan of the sun or fire. On the contrary, if someone touches the fire, they will be burnt. Furthermore, when Kuntaji invoked Surya using the mantra given by Durvasa, Surya, the sun, came to Kuntaji in a human form, just like Kuntaji's own form. As a result, she was able to enjoy his intimacy and thus conceived Karna. In actuality, Surya is extremely luminous. If he had come with all of his light, Kuntaji would have been burnt to death, and she would not have been able to enjoy his intimacy. Also, when Surya used to come to Satrajit Yadav, he came as a human. But when he came to Kuntaji and came to Satrajit, he did leave his place. Did he leave his place in the sky? In reality, he did remain in the sky, but assuming another form. That very same Surya came to Kuntaji in Satrajit. Moreover, there was just as much luminosity in that form as there is in the sun, but he suppressed that luminosity and came as a human. In the same way, if God were to give darshan to beings with all of his divinity, then humans would not find it suitable. They would wonder, is this a ghost or what? Therefore, God suppresses his own divine powers and gives darshan exactly like a human. But at the same time, he still remains present in his own abode. Only when God comes as a human are people able to do his darshan, touch him, and offer the 9 types of bhakti, loving devotion. If God does not become like a human and instead behaves with complete divinity, then people would not be able to develop affection or feelings of affinity for him. Why? Because a human develops affection and affinity for another human. Animals develop mutual affection and affinity for other animals. But Humans and animals do not develop the same affection and affinity for each other. Why? Because those belonging to the same category develop affection towards each other, but not towards those belonging to different categories. Similarly, God suppresses his divinity and behaves exactly like a human so that his devotees can develop affection for him. He does not exhibit his divinity. His exhibiting divinity would place him in a different category, and as a result, devotees would not be able to develop affection and affinity towards him. It is for this reason that when God appears in human form, he remains extremely wary to ensure the concealment of his own divinity. If, in the process, he were to become a little impatient in some task, his divinity would become apparent. Occasionally, though by his own wish he may reveal his divinity to some devotee. For example, when Sri Krishna Bhagwan became impatient to kill Bhishma, he forgot his human-like nature and reverted to his divine powers. As a result, the earth was incapable of bearing the burden. When he revealed his divinity to Arjun, it was revealed as a result of his own wish. However, Arjun did not experience bliss due to that divinity. In fact, he became very uneasy. Then when Sri Krishna Bhagwan gave darshan to Arjun in his human form, Arjun experienced bliss and said, Turshdvedam manusham rupam tava saumyam janardana idanim asmi samvrittaha sachetaha prakritim gataha. Which means, O vanquisher of the evil, Krishna, having seen your gentle human form, I am now composed and have been restored to my original nature. From the 51st verse of the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, only when God behaves like a human does a person find it suitable. Otherwise, he would not. Yet, when God behaves as a human, one who does not have such understanding would find it difficult to accept his human-like nature. Moreover, if they were to behave with only divinity, one would be unable to comprehend that which is beyond the reach of the mind and speech. Hence, the scriptures have described God in both ways. One who has fully realized him in this manner would not develop any doubts, but doubts would certainly arise in one who does not understand in this manner. Now, someone may claim, I have realized God, and I have the conviction of God. But if they do not understand this discourse, then their conviction is still imperfect. For example, a person may have learnt a verse or a devotional song. If they were asked, have you learnt this verse or this devotional song? They would reply that they have, and they would also be able to recite it. But if they were to forget that verse or devotional song after a few days, then it can be said that when they originally learnt the verse, they had not learnt it properly. Why? Because that verse or devotional song was not fully imprinted in their jiva, in their soul, through intense practice, and through shravan and manan, through listening and thinking. However, if something is learnt in childhood thoroughly, then it can be recalled when required, even during youth or old age. In the same way, when that person attempts to develop the conviction of God, some deficiencies remained. If no deficiencies had remained, and if they had done shravan, manan, an intense reiteration in their jiva, in their soul, then they would never have had any doubts at all. All right, that was a bit of a longer one today, but thank you for listening to this verse of the Vachanāmrut. This has certainly been one of my favorites listening as I read to you all. So thank you for listening to Panchālā 4. And Jai Swaminarayan.